Mrunali ma'am.
So, good evening, everyone. I, CM Pranalini Damle, welcome you all on behalf of in Internal Audit Standard Board of ICAI. today's today's webinar focuses on crucial governance element, which is robust internal controls and continuous control monitoring. The chairman and the vice chairman, sir, could not join due to prior commitments, but the board extends its best wishes for a productive and engaging session. We thank you all for joining this important discussion. Before we begin, I would like to introduce about the topic, which is internal controls. Now, internal controls and continuous monitoring have become a foundational in ensuring transparency, strengthening governance, and reducing operational risk. Today's webinar aims to highlight practical techniques and emerging approaches that support the sound governance in evolving business environments. It is now my pleasure to introduce our eminent speaker, CA Pradeep Sagarokia. Sir is a chartered accountant and a certified fraud examiner with 10 years of practice experience in internal audit, forensic investigation, IFC, and risk management. He currently serves as a senior manager at PKF Sridhar and LP and has previously worked with Ernst & Young and other leading consulting firms. He has delivered internal audit, forensic, and risk advisory engagements across diverse sectors and is a regular speaker at ICAI forums and corporate capability building programs. Pradeep sir is a special invitee to the Internal Audit Standard Board of ICAI and AI Awareness Committee of NIRC and is also a part of training committee of IIA Delhi chapter. I now request Pradeep sir to please begin with his technical session.
Okay, thank you so much, Mrunali ma'am, and thanks to chairman and vice chairman of the board, IASB of ICAI.
Sir, your voice is not audible.
Hello.
Please unmute yourself.
Now audible. Hello. Am I audible? Yeah. Thanks, Mrunali ma'am, and thanks to chairman and vice chairman of the board, and thanks to all supporting teams. Still there is. Okay. Today, we are discussing about significance of the robust internal control and continuous control monitoring for the organizational governance. What comes in your mind when you say the internal control? That organizational structure, SOPs or policies, delegation of the authorities, or segregation of the duty. Any of this might be comes in your mind. Not only that, The internal control is the whole system, process, policies, procedure put in by the management to ensure that organizational objectives are achieved effectively and efficiently. These controls are designed to mitigate the risk, safeguard the assets, and ensure the accuracy and reliability of the financial reporting and prompt compliances with the laws or regulations. Page risk management, safeguarding financial reporting, and operating efficiency and compliance monitoring and maker checker controls. Suppose if you go to any organization, there might be some attendance, means for employees, for visitors. That is the one control. Suppose someone is visiting to that place, he or she need to put it in their name and from where they have visited and purpose of that visit. That control is intruder, means suppose someone is coming to that organization, at least they need to pass that entry, means that will keep the records and that can use for future perspective. Likewise, for employees, there is some biometric attendance or some manual attendance. That is the another control for employees, if whether they have been attended a piece or not, right? Likewise, there might be some policies defined within which timeline who will do that activity in the organization. All those things defined and enacted and communicated to the responsible person for action. All those things are the internal controls in the organization. And if there is a system that is something above that internal control, which through which organization is governing overall, that is called the organizational governance. Governance of the organization will direct to the KMP members or employees to act upon something. Suppose organization has decided to take it forward the new project, and they will decide that at the organizational level, and they will communicate to the KMP members and all the respective stakeholders so that they will take their actions. Likewise, it is linked with internal control also. Suppose management wants to take it something project and forward, and they wants to complete within a timeline. For that, they need to deploy the manpower. They need to monitor that timeline. They need to monitor that cost perspective, and they need to communicate with the team so that what management actually wants to do. For that prospective, internal controls should be established first, so that is the structured process through which that documented process will communicate that what actually management wants, and then how the things will go forward, and then how that will impact to our activities. Suppose something might be related to operational activities, something might be related to the financial reporting, something might be related to the compliances. Suppose we are taking forward one project at the new place. At that time, timeliness is the one thing, cost factor is the financial factor, and of the third one is compliance, whether there is any requirement for initiate that project. Suppose SHITO or consent to operate, as some other registration are required, that needs to be ensured. For that prospective, internal control should be established in the organization. And continuous control monitoring means something above than that internal control, which is a real-time monitoring of the internal control through the adaptation of the technology, means using the data from the organization or ERP systems, we automate those controls, and which will fetch out the real-time monitoring and the real-time dashboards, real-time pop-ups, so that we can comply with our requirement laws, and we can meet our operational requirement. We can align those objective decided by the organization, so that this continuous monitoring is also important in the organization. When the robust internal control will be established in the organization and CCM control will be established at that point of time, it reduces the risk and improve the transparency in the organization, and further build the trust with the stakeholders. The stakeholders rely upon us. Why governance matters today? Nowadays, there is global complexity because we are dealing in borderless economy, and we are dealing in multiple countries, multiple locations, multiple places. And being at one location, we can do the business with multiple countries or multiple places. And there is the regulatory intensity which is required within country or outside of the country. Likewise, there is the technological advancement where nowadays AI is coming into place, and likewise ERP has been advanced. Likewise, other there is so many software tools we are using in the business. Due to which reason, there is the technological driven risk is also arising. And apart from that, being as the global business and the global investors and the other investors are aware about the market and their risk, they are expecting from us, means that organization needs to ensure to them our organization is doing well, so that all those factors requires the good governance in the organization, so that good governance can only represent our organization, means shows the real picture of the organization and of the which can report the true and fair view of the organization. For that perspective, we need to establish the strong control in the organization. Why governance needs the strong control? Means, as we said, there is the expectations from the stakeholders. Multiple risks are arising in the market due to different factors. We need to mitigate those risks, and we need to ensure those compliances so that we can avoid penalties or negative rating, so that stakeholder can trust upon us. And framework for accountability. Governance ensures the accountability, fairness, and stakeholders relationship in the organization. An importance of the strong controls is the robust internal control prevent the unethical practices or provide the reliable information for decision making, which can provide the true data of the organization, which can provide the actual picture of the organization, which can easily communicate to the stakeholders, and we can ensure that our organization is fairly working, so that their trust will be increased. And another part is learning from corporate scandals. As you know, there is the big corporate scandals in the old, like Enron, Satyam. Even having there is the controls in the organization that could not prevent those frauds in the organization. The reason is not having the control. The reason was that control failure. There might be the different reason of the control failure, due to which reason we need to understand the why risk exists, where does it exist, and how we can mitigate those risks. That is the important. Once the control will be established against the risk, we need to monitor throughout the period, so that we can understand where is lacking, where is improvement is required, where we can prevent and mitigate those risks, so that learning from those corporate scandals, we need to be the pro and use through the use of technology. We need to implement the CCM in the organization. Continuous control monitoring enables real-time insight and helping the board or management or other stakeholders the real true picture of the organization, which will send the red flag to the process owner, so that they can mitigate that risk, prevent on the timely manner. Suppose if there is any duplicate invoices are booking in the organization, we have already established the CCM control in the system at that time, It will help us to pop up or send the mail or dashboard that there is some indication of some duplicate invoice. That will help us to there is a mishappening. Suppose we are delaying some statutory compliance, due to which reason there is some non-compliances are reporting. It will once in the month, once fortnightly, it will be reported to us. That will help to us to improve going forward, so that it will not remain throughout the year, or at the time of audit only we can identify due to not having of the CCM control in the organization. That means continuous control monitoring is required to monitor those all controls, so that we can detect those risks or mitigate those risks or diversify those risks on the timely manner to prevent our assets, our stakeholder trust in the organization. Strengthening organizational governance means the transparency and reporting. Means once we will strengthen the governance in the organization, that will help to us to be the transparent, and reporting will be correct and accurate. And another is accountability and roles. Once we will decide and define those responsibility in the organization through the internal controls, that will automatically create that accountability towards that activity. So we can link with that KPIs of the person. Suppose we have defined some, if there will be some non-compliance related to those persons or those process owner, we can penalize to them, we can link their KPIs with that, so that their performance will be considered based upon their avoiding those non-compliances. That will help us to improve our internal controls. And another is the risk management support, early identification or vulnerabilities through the support, CCM support, proactive risk management or mitigates the effects. Means suppose if you are getting the information on timely manner, you can be able to mitigate those risks, so that will avoid our harmless means penalties or any mishappening in the organization or misappropriation of the assets in the organization. Suppose we have taken the insurance in the organization. It was expired on 30 September 2025. But due to manual monitoring, we have missed that to renew, so that it will be exposure of the all assets in the organization. But if we will implement that CCM control in the system, then it will shows the red flag that there is expired insurance, so that we can easily that renew that insurance policies, so that we can prevent and diversify our risk. Likewise, informed decision making, real-time insights from the CCM enables the boards or committees to inform oversight decision confidently, so that they will get the real-time picture of the organization. They will understand where is the lacking, where we need to focus it out, and based on which they will take the further decision. That will help us to improve our organizational internal controls, our operational performance, or we can safeguard our assets. So that it is crucial to implement the CCM controls in the organization. When you say the internal control in organization, first of all, it comes in the mind is that the entity level control, those controls, which is corporate level policies, that means vision, mission of the organization. What the board of directors are deciding, where we want to project ourselves and where we are moving forward. And a second part is code of conduct, through which code of conduct only we can penalize those misconduct in the organization. Likewise, another is the whistleblower policy, which is also the part of the entity level control, through which if there is any mishappening, someone unanimously can report those mishappening to concern those tasked with management or KMP members. Apart from that, corporate governance, original structure, how will be the organizational structure, how the segregation of the duty will be bifurcated, means delegation of the authority will be defined. It will help to improve our internal controls. Suppose if the finance department is booking the invoices, and themselves they are onboarding the vendors, and of the themselves they are paying to the vendors. That will create conflict of the segregation of the duty. Suppose someone, a single person is doing all these three activities, so at least it needs to be divided into different person or cross functional. Suppose purchase department will identify the vendor, onboard the vendor, and the finance department will book the invoices, and payment department will release the payment. That will create the segregation of the duties in the organization. Likewise, organizational structure will define the hierarchy in the organization. That will clearly define who will report to whom and who will review whose works. That will help to improve our internal controls, means which will increase the performance as well. Further, second part is the process level controls. Process level means operational level. Suppose procure to pay related controls, order to cash related. Since receive the order from the customer to the collection of the payment from the customer, inventory management related controls, contract management. Out of this, one example is that suppose we are receiving the inventory from the vendor, and of the we are putting it at the warehouse, and 60% of the inventory has been sold out, but remaining 40% is lying at the warehouse. If we do not have the monitoring system of near expiry material, in case of retail or FMCG products, it will get expired, or it will be the waste. At that time, we will bear some financial loss. Due to which reason we need to implement that near expiry tracking system. It could be done manually if possible. If not, we can use the different tools or ERP system through which we can daily basis monitor those near expiry product, and we can take the action against the near expiry product can be sold sell on the discount. That will help to clear our inventory so that we can realize some fund against that also. Another is the financial cycles, means treasury, corporate related, and asset management. Financial statement closure procedure is also there. Means financial closures means something in monthly activity, or weekly activity, or year end activities. There might be accurate booking of the expenses. Accrued expenses are booked in the system or not. Means provision are correctly taking in the system or not. All these things will be covered under these controls. And another is the compliance or legal related. Legal or regulatory requirement is important factor in the organization. Some compliances are related to of the HR compliances or some other act and policies. Means based upon the industry or based upon the location, it will be different laws. Means suppose someone is dealing in the Maharashtra, it might be the different state law, or someone is dealing in the UP, it might be the different law. Some central law might be same for all over the India. And apart from that, some HR compliances also there. In the some states, there is the professional tax is applicable. In some state, there is the labor welfare fund is applicable. Likewise, different laws are applicable in the organization. There is no mechanism of directly monitoring those all required statutory compliances. Means how many universe is there, against which how many we are monitoring. To mitigate this type of risk, we can use the tools, third-party tools, through which we can monitor easily all those compliances, and we can ensure and issue the certification for that compliances. Even having all those controls in the organization, there is the overall governance duty is having with that board of directors or audit committee or KMP members. Overall responsibility will remain with them. They will, board of directors or audit committee will decide the overall responsibility of risk management, and of the guidance, they will provide the guidance to the KMP members or other employees, and of that KMP member will oversee and monitoring. What does it means? Ground level people will implement the whatever the decision taken by the board of directors, and that KMP member will oversee all those activities. Suppose management has decided we will increase the sale in new country. At that time, how we will go there, how we will search the new customer, and how we will onboard those customer, how we will fix our prices in the new location, and all those things will be defined by the governance, and that will be communicated to the employees. They will implement at the ground, but the KMP members or process owners will take the responsibility, accountability of that, and they will monitor throughout the year. If we will implement that CCM control over there, that will monitor and reflect the fetch out, means that dashboards or some mishappenings to us, means that management level, process owner level, they will easily correct or mitigate those types of risk. Then objective of the internal control is the strategic level, high level goals, objective aligned with the supporting mission vision of the organization. And at the operational level, that is the objective is only effectiveness, whether that operations are effectively and uniformly working or not. That is the important. Or apart from that, efficient utilization resources. Suppose if we are monitoring that cost part in the organization, at that point of time, we will consider that BUM concept. At the BUM concept, we will say that how much input will be required for one output, based upon which we can monitor that of the input output ratio, and that will be reported to the management. If there is any deviation, we will do the root cause analysis so that we can know that why there is the variation. So if we will implement that CCM control in the system, that CCM control will take that 1 month data, and based on which that CCM control will fetch out the exception. If there is an exception, that we can validate through of the process owners, through which we can mitigate going forward such type of risk. And apart from that, another is the reporting, integrity and reliability of the reporting. Once we will establish the internal control in the organization, that will help to be the transparent and of the reliable accounting, means that will be the true and fair, that will reflect the actual reporting over there. And another is the compliance. We want to comply with all the laws applicable to the organization, so that we want to implement the internal control for that perspective. Apart from that, last one is that stewardship, which protects and conserves the assets, through which we want to prevent our interest, which will safeguard our assets in the organization. Now, what is the role of internal control in the governance? First one is the foundation of the organizational integrity. Second one is the risk mitigation engine. Third one is the operational discipline. As I said earlier, first we want to define that what is the tone of the higher management, where we want to go. So for that objective, how we can align our businesses towards to that. For that, organizational integrity is important. Everyone in the organization needs to be aligned with that. And another is the risk mitigation engine, means if there is any risk in the organization that will harm to the organized entity, which may impact to the reputation of the organization, financial loss, or business continuity risk might also be there. To reduce those type of risk, we need to establish the internal control with the good governance. And another is operational discipline. What we want to do on the daily operational activities should be effective, efficient, means which will give the result with minimum cost, which we want. And another is the compliance perspective. Here is the one picture. Left part is that governance. There is governance. What governance wants to do? First one is the statutory compliances, whatever applicable to the organization, it should be complied. Its accounting standards should be applied, and policies in the organization should be properly followed, and contract and commitments should be accurately complied, and the processes and procedures in the organization should be implemented in the organization, and the control in the organization should be effectively working. For that perspective, governance should be there. Then governance wants to mitigate risk if there is that is the continuous practice through which evolve the new risk, and we identify those risks, and we set up new controls based on which we can mitigate those risks in the organization. Then it is the going forward, means a revolving process, and the which results that resilient organization and continuous improvement is required. And ultimate result is that we are complied with all the required laws, and of the monitoring what the threats or risk are entering into our organization or existing in the organization, and we are taking action on timely manner. And another is, once we will establish that CCM control, it will help to us the self assessment on regular basis or periodical. Currently what we are doing is the periodical internal audit only. Periodical internal audit shows the result after some periods only, but if we will define that CCM control in the organization, that CCM control tool allows us to assess ourselves on daily basis, fortnightly basis, monthly basis, so that we can enhance our process automatically. Our external audits is subsequently happen. Prior to that, we can identify our risk in the organization, and we can mitigate those risks in the organization. That will help to us to be the compliant or risk mitigated. A reduced risk will be there, and that will result in the true and transparent reporting. And ultimately, it will result to that increase in the trust of the stakeholder towards us. Means they will get the result what exactly happening in the organization. Now, why internal control is important in India? There is some regulatory framework of the internal control, and there are some responsibilities also defined over there. First of all, Companies Act 2013, the section 134 subsection 3n mandates that disclosure of the company's policies related to risk management is the responsibility of the board of report. Board's report means they need to report that company's policy for risk management. Second one is that the section 177 requires establishment of an audit committee responsible for, among other things, overseeing risk management policies and procedures. And third one is section 143 subsection 3, auditor's report to include a statement on whether the company has adequate or operating effectiveness of the internal financial control. That means statutory auditor should have to also give the opinion upon the internal controls. That's why nowadays IFC testing is evolving. Where people are doing that IFC testing on the regular basis, so that they can show that their internal processes are effectively working, and there is mitigated risk, and there is compliances are complied in timely manner. That will result that the statutory auditor will get the confidence to report that there is the internal control is effectively working, adequately and effectively working. Likewise, SEBI has also issued some provisions like regulations 17 of subsection 9 mandates the formulation of the risk management framework by listed entities approved by the BOD, disclosure in annual report. Every listed company should have to define that risk management framework, and that is to be disclosed with the annual report. Like regulation 27 2D requires disclosure of composition of terms of references or risk management committee along with roles and functions. It also requires the formulation of the audit committee or risk management committee, which needs to monitor and supervise that risk management framework. And another is regulation 46 mandates the disclosure of the material event or information that may affect the performance or operation of the company, including of the risk and concern. Though going for the perspective of going concern perspective, it is applicable that if there is mishappening in the organization, that needs to be reported through that. And of the RBI guidelines is also there for banking sectors. RBI issues the guideline and circulars to bank and financial institute regarding the management practices, including the credit market, operational and liquidity risk. The like credit market is also their operational risk or liquidity, and apart from that, some if their forex hedging or other commodity hedgings, that is also should be covered there. And RBI guidelines also emphasizes that importance of internal controls and compliance frameworks to ensure that safety and soundness of the financial institution. And likewise, IRDAI also issues some guidelines. All these regulators are saying that at least you need to define that risk management framework in the organization. and you need to define the responsibility of the monitoring those frameworks and for implementation and improvement. For that perspective, an outcome should be reported through the annual reports, and of the statutory auditor should also get vouched for that. So, which is really required, due to which reason every organization should have to establish the internal control through which every area processes should be covered, so that regulator will be ensured that all every organizations are working properly along with that risk management framework, and auditor will vouch, and that can be opened that all the internal controls are effectively and adequately working in the organization. That internal finance controls related some responsibilities are defined over there. First one, director's responsibility ensure the adequate and operating effectively in the IFC, means internal financial controls. And audit committee is there. If the audit committee is there, the evaluation of the internal financial control is duty of the audit committee, and to comment upon adequacy of operating effectiveness is the auditor's duty. An independent director also can ask to satisfy themselves on the robustness of the internal financial control in the organization, whether that is effectively working or not. Means they are not leaving to only one, they are providing responsibility to everyone. That means directors of the organization, who is governance of the entity, audit committee members is also the governance of the organization. Those are responsible for that governance perspective. They need to ensure and evaluate. And independent director also can ask upon that whether that is properly working or not. And of the auditors should have to ensure that whether those internal control established in the organization are effectively or adequately working or not. Based upon those requirements, as we have discussed, there is one example. Suppose internal financial control over the financial reporting. Realization of the sales or accurate expenses in the recorded in financial statement is the internal financial control. Suppose someone has realized 100 rupees, that should be accurately booked as a revenue in the books. And second is operational risk, is the operation has provided some leverage, that discount will be provided 5% if someone is purchased more than the 5,000. That discount policy should be correctly applied at the operational level. And if the fraudulent manual entry without supporting or unauthorized entry books in the account without supporting, that will be the fraud preventive controls. Means collectively it will call the internal financial control. All these entries will impact to the financial reporting, means financial statement, so that it will call as the internal financial controls. And another is that maintenance of the financial records, means financial records along with audit trails should be captured and stored. And another is authorization of a transaction in accordance with the GAAP, that is properly application of the IGAP. And safeguarding of the all those controls are also related to that financial activities. It will also called as the ICOFAN, means internal financial control. Apart from that, suppose we are establishing some controls in the organization which is not directly linked with the financial transaction or financial reporting, but it is linked with the other operational activities. It will be be called the operational control, which is the part of the internal control, but it will not consider as the internal financial control. To establish internal control in the organization, there is the one universally accepted framework, which is called the COSO framework. COSO framework says that the control environment means what is the top management tones, what they want, what is the adaptive capability of them, how they accept the risk, or how they plan to mitigate the risk. That is the control environment. On which control environment we are dealing, there might be some risk critical for some industry, but it might be different in the another industry because their priority might be different. In case of manufacturing companies, BUM is crucial part. Means based upon BUM, input output ratio will be monitored, and based on which we can say that cost monitoring will be also there. But if we'll discuss for banking sector, it might be differ for that. There might be some loans and deposit. It might be critical thing. We need to ensure that part, and of their revenue realization or all those things needs to be prioritized. And second is that risk assessment, identification of the risk, analysis of the risk in the organization. That means what could goes wrong, what could go wrong in the organization. That should be assessed somehow based upon the control environment of the organization. Then this risk should be mapped with the processes of the organization, and control should be defined. Means control activities means establishing the control at these processes wherever we feel that exists the risk. Then that should be communicated with correct information, should be communicated throughout the organization and stakeholders, so that we can implement these controls in the organization. And another is the monitoring of the those internal controls, means which we have established through the control activities and communicated throughout the information and communication. It helps to us to monitor all those internal controls throughout the period. It's ongoing process. It's not the one-time activity. Once we have identified the risk in the organization, we will establish the control and communicate to the process owners, and based on which we will establish and implement the internal control. And throughout the period, process owners themselves, through the CCM control or through the audits or through other periodical activities, they can assess their controls. If they feel there is some lacking design level, there might be, because nowadays day by day technology advancement is at the peak, so that there might be some new risk will be arises. To mitigate those type of risk, we need to establish the new controls. Suppose earlier we used to say that yeah, we can do that only through the manual. Someone is checking through the registered and all, and the capturing the records in the system. Nowadays, all these things are happening throughout the system automation. Then we need to check differently, that previous control might not be effective for current scenario. So that we need to consider the new environment, and based on which we need to define the new revised control, so that it will help to mitigate the such type of risk. And there might be some new law, rule, regulations comes into effect, so that we need to consider. Means earlier there is the no Aadhaar card UDI related control was required. Nowadays that UDI means Aadhaar Act defined that, provided that, so if you want to take the and store the Aadhaar card in the organization, you need to mark those 8 digit of that Aadhaar card. So that is the new risk evolved in the organization. Nowadays we need to do the masking of 8 digits of the those Aadhaar cards. Likewise, nowadays AI automation is there. We are linking Excel with the AI, so that there comes some risk directly to our system. So we need to establish some scanning system, antivirus system, some network related firewall we can establish, so that we can prevent those type of risk. It means that evolution of the business and evolution of the technology and changes in the rule regulations of and the requirement of the regulators, we need to update ourselves, and through which we need to reassess our controls, and based on which we need to implement the new control to mitigate the new type of risk. And throughout the period, we need to monitor those controls, so that we will be ensured that risks are reduced, and those reporting requirement are adequately and correctly reporting, and the compliances required in the organizations are complied. That COSO framework based approach will be that we will consider that operational, reporting, and compliance. All these factors will be considered at every level, means control environment, risk assessment level, control activities level, information or communication, and monitoring activities. And it will be like, as we have already discussed, there is the entity level risk and controls will be discussed, and divisional level and operating level and the functional level, so that throughout the organization, from higher at high to top to lower ground level, we need to assess all the area and all the processes of the organization, so that we can identify all those risks existing in the organization, against which we can develop the control in the organization, so that we can mitigate or diversify those risks or transfer those risks. It depends. Sometimes taking the insurance is not called the mitigation or reducing the risk. It will be transferred to the insurance companies, through which we can do that. So likewise, suppose earlier it used to be happen that key insurance policy, once we have taken, it will be for the period only, 1 year only. Nowadays there is flexibility available. Likewise, whenever we will addition up to some inventory of fixed asset or deletion of the assets or inventory, we can communicate to those insurance companies, and we can update to that insurance policies that will be also covered. That will help it out. So likewise, there is multiple reasons. So we need to establish the internal control, and that should be monitored throughout the period. And why control failures occurs means, as we have already discussed, there is so many big scams happened in the world, and due to which reason so many thousands of crores has been lost by the peoples. Recently, 2 to 3 years back, you know, there is the one S bank related issue also comes in the picture. Likewise, other mishappening in the market also. As you know, the ED and CBI is acting upon that. So all those mishappening is due to somewhere failure of the internal control. So why? What is the reason behind it? Why internal? Even though having of the internal control in the organization, this internal control are not effectively working. One is over reliance on the manual steps. Every time we are going through of the manual activities, which will take the times and is costly. So that's not covering whole area. So there might be existence of some risk in the organization, which will result as the control failure in the organization. Another is poor designing. At the time of designing control, we have not assessed the whole organization top to bottom, due to which reason we could not implement the control properly in the organization. Due to which reason that will result that poor designing of the control framework in the organization, due to which reason it will result that control failure in the organization. And another will be the lack of ownership. Means there is not defined accountability. Means process, SOPs or policies or process narrative, RCM, are not that much defined, so that who will be the process owner, which KPI is that thing to do, but that is not linked in the organization, due to which reason no one will do the monitoring that part, due to which reason that control will got failed. And another is technology gap. We have established long back those internal control in the organization, but we are monitoring based upon those controls and risk management framework only. We are not revamping those internal risk management framework in the organization, due to which reason we are not able to get it. The current risks are existing there, and we need to cover those risks also. Means after evolution of that AI in the market, there is so many IT related risks will also persist, because we are integrating this AI with our ERP systems, Excel, our system. So that we need to ensure that their data privacy is the one critical or crucial risk is there. The after applicability at DPDC is also, there is some requirement to do change in the in India also, that will require some data protection related or data sharing related control needs to be revamped in the organization. Recently, some labor act related codes has been reissued, new issued, due to which reason there might be some changes in the organization. We need to align our controls in the organization. There might be some timelines of the payment, of timelines of the compliances will be changed, and we need to monitor those types of new changes in the regulations or laws act needs to be updated in the controls, so that it will cover all the risk persist. And some example of control failure, as I have already discussed, Enron scam of 2001, waste management scandal is 1998, Satyam scam. All those scams were happen just not having of the internal control. Even having the internal control, those control were not adequate and effective in the organization, due to which reason this type of scandal were crystallized. Means that's why we need to revamp our internal controls, or we need to align with the new technology and adapt the CCM tools in the organization, which will provide the real-time monitoring of the internal control. So that's why the CCM is important. Continuous control monitoring is important in the organization due to some reasons. Suppose increased complexity in the organization, means modern businesses landscapes, means global business perspectives, and there is lots of laws, act applicabilities. Manually we cannot track all those laws and regulations and their compliance status. Likewise, another is the manual audits and traditional audit methods no longer sufficient, which we are doing through the vouching, manual vouching, and all those things will cover on the sample basis or area basis only. But we cannot cover all the data at a time. Means if we will apply that CCM control, we will take the universe data and we can apply that CCM tool in that data and easily analyze 100% population, and we can get it the result from that. That will help us to ensure on the 100% population. Means another is the continuous, means CCM offers the proactive and the dynamic approach in the internal auditing and risk management. We can do the self-assessment throughout the year, not only for the internal audit perspective, for self-rating also we can do that. In the mature entities, means where the risk management is mature in the organization, though their CCM control has been already established, where they are doing what they are doing whenever they are getting new observations and risk, they are also updating their CCM tools with the new scripts, so that that will also cover going forward. And otherwise they are running and processing those existing scripts on the regular basis, so that they are getting the results. If there is some exceptions, they are validating through the process owners. Right. What is the process to continuous control monitoring process? Means define objective and scope. Why we want to establish the internal control? That is the important. In governance level, that is something they wants to check that whether their risk management framework is aligned with our objective, and whether that mission or vision is not are working properly or not. That prospective governance wants to improve that part. But for process owner, that is self-rating, means how we are where we are standing, means what is our performance, what is our adequacy, what is our accuracy. If someone wants to test themselves and improve themselves, they need to establish and define that objective, and based upon the objective, select and deploy the monitoring tool. There might be some different tools. AI, through AI also we can do. Machine learning is also there, and some software tools are also there, means Alteryx, Power BI, IDEA, and the SQL. So many things are there through which we can create the script, and once we will take the input from the universal ERPs, and we can process that tools through that tool, and we can get the exception. If there is any exception, we can validate from the process owner. Then we can improve that if there is the existence of any risk, and we can revamp that controls also, and develop control frameworks and indicators. We need to define somehow what will be the indicator for us. Suppose if we want to flag it out the duplicate invoicing, we need to do that checking of the frequency, means invoice duplicate invoices, and amount in monthly ranging. Means suppose on the monthly basis there was 1 lakh of the invoices was booking, but in 1 month it was 2 lakhs. It means duplicate invoicing is resulted, due to which reason enhance. That variation will be reported through the CCM, and we need to validate. Sometimes it might be the technical glitch also, but otherwise if there is the genuine issue, we can mitigate that type of risk and automate the control monitoring processes through. Suppose we have automated that the ERP through which if data is aged more than of the 90 days, it will automatically send the one pop-up mail to the process owner, so that same team, means sales teams, so that they can take the follow-up with the customers and analyze a report on findings. That reports will be analyzed, and based on independent corrective activities can be implemented in the organization. Means it will not be the just like the audit, internal audit, external audits. It will be just like real-time monitoring, though that will be defined on the periodical basis based upon the nature, processes, areas. It will be different. So accordingly, we need to align with that, so that it will result different things. I mean, suppose someone in the organization wants to report some ghost employee in the organization. Only thing is that there is some customer employee onboarding list, means employee master is available. If that should be compared with that payroll processing, means if there is a variation, it will automatically reflect that there is some additional employee reflecting in the payroll processes. Like other leave related, we can do that. And apart from that, in the organization, we can automate the system and show that real-time monitoring. Means suppose timeline of the compliances of the all acts and laws, we can automate in the organization, so that that will send us the pop-up, so that timely manner we can execute those things, and so that it will avoid the penalties in the organization, right? So another is significance of the CCM. As we have already discussed, that timely risk identification. If there is the significance, means if there is the CCM control in the organization, so that will reflect the result on the regular basis. It will not wait for a 6 month, a year. It will provide the data on monthly basis, fortnightly basis, so that we can analyze their results and reports, and we can improve ourselves. Further, if we want to improve our internal control system, our internal control effectiveness, so for that perspective also, that will help to us, because it will provide the real-time data. So we will be able to understand where is lacking in the organization, what vulnerabilities are there, what weaknesses are existing in the organization, and allow the immediate corrective action against that weaknesses, so that it will improve and enhance our internal control system, and which is very beneficial to us. And another is cost efficiency, means reduces the cost of the manual audits and the compliance sake. Means manual audit will take a longer time, or manpower likewise it will cost high. Means to reduce the cost, we can automate things, and so that the manpower utilizing for checking those vouchers will not be required. Accordingly, cost will be reduced in other sectors also. So manual task will take a longer period, due to which reason we need to invest much higher cost. But if we will automate in through of the CCM tools, it will easily work upon the 100 population time within a minimum time range. It will help to reduce our overall auditing cost also. Or maximizing resource allocation, means whenever we are monitoring at the real time basis, it will help to us to monitor our resources and where can utilize further. And suppose we have the aged inventory in the organization, we can monitor through the CCM control. Once there is having of the more than 6 month inventory in the warehouse, that will send one report, that exception report, which will provide us that how many inventory more than 6 months is lying in the warehouse. Means it will help to us how we can sell it out or utilize in the organization. Another is like, suppose we have automated internal control system in the organization through ERP. When the purchase requisition comes to purchase department, that will, after authorization of the processor of that user department, that purchase department will ask to the inventory department, so whether there is the availability of the material in the organization or not. If there is the material available in the warehouse, they will say, yeah, 100% inventory is available, 50% inventory we can provide from the warehouse. The remaining we can buy it. Means purchase department will process the purchase order, and based on which material will be received. If this type of control will not has not been established in the organization, one side there will be the aged inventory in the warehouse, which is resulting of the blockage of the fund in the organization, and another side we are purchasing new material, incurring additional cost, which will result to the financial burden to the organization. To mitigate this type of risk, we need to establish that internal control in the organization. Maker checker control should be there, and like payment related fraud or invoice related fraud, also segregation of duty is important in the organization. That should be defined through policies, processes, or risk matrix. And apart from that, ERM concept is new evolved in the organizations. Means apart from regular process related controls, there is enterprises level risk are also monitoring. We are categorizing those risks into controllable and non-controllable. Based upon if there is controllable, we can take it action against that, and we can establish the control against that and mitigate those type of risk also, right? And another is the enhanced compliances. If we are using the CCM control in the organization on the real-time basis, we are getting the information from throughout the organization, which will give us the benefit that we are complied or not. Means if we are complied, happy to say we are complied, and that will increase the trust upon organization, and stakeholder will easily trust upon us that we are complying with 100%. Means something evidence will be there we are doing effectively and adequately, so that there is the result is saying that all laws, rules, and regulations has been completely followed in the organizations, right? If that CCM control will not be there, KMP members or board or audit committee will say that we are compliant, but supporting document will not be there. Then how they will justify that statutory compliance required in the organization is completely followed it, completely complied? That will not be justifiable. That this CCM control will help to justify those things in the organization. Yeah, there is 100 statutory compliances were required to be complied by this organization. Now this compliances we have complied under this date. That will be shown in the report completely. That will result boost the confidence to the stakeholders as well, and after that efficiency will be increased in the organization. Penalties will be reduced, and fine and penalties will be reduces, and legal litigation related cost will be reduced. Due to which reason? And another is the key area to begin with. Means when you say that internal control, you want to make it robust and which will align with the governance of the organization. That is fine, but it's not easy to do at a time. Means it needs to implement on chunk basis. It's easy to start from that IT related, means obsolete user access. Suppose we have provided the user access in the organization someone that is not using since last 1 year. We need to block it out and deactivate those user access on the timely manner. Another user account information discrepancy, means some user account information discrepancy is there that can be identified and that can be communicated. Suppose someone has promoted to some new designation, accordingly rights has to be provided to them. But at that time that needs to be updated. And of the delay in user account activation related, all those things are easily available in the IT system. The backend IT system can provide those reports based on which we can automate, and we can implement the continuous control monitoring system through the different softwares and tools. As I already said, there is AI automation is one, another is the machine learning related, another is the some software tools like Alteryx, IDEA, through which we can establish that CCM control in the organization. And another is is related to the finance. It will be also easy to do that duplicate payment invoices related. Means easily we can get it the dump of that payments or invoices, and we can set up the logics in the control tools, CCM controls or tools, so that will be easily analyzed and assessed. And of the assessed and split of the purchase requisition, PO dump can be easily get it in the organization, based on which we can analyze this type of risk. On the early phase, we can do on the at lower cost through of the some software tools, and later on we can integrate with our ERPs so that it will extract data directly through the ERPs, and we can get it done in the organization. That will help us to develop the resilience and the effective risk management framework in the organization. Otherwise, nowadays global business is increasing, and the different laws, rules, regulations are making effective since last 2 to 3 years. But we are not automating things, and that will result to some exposure in the organization. That will raise some reputational loss, that will impact in the financial loss, or that will impact to the business continuity risk in the organization also. Suppose there is someone to whom we have provided the access, now left the organization, still is getting the access in our system, and of the misutilizing those information and providing to our competitor. That will result impact to the our competitiveness also. That will directly, indirectly impact to the financial sector, financial part also. There is the one RAG basis which shows that when we are not having such internal controls of CCM controls, no data analytics program exists today. Rely can report. Our focus is on ADA manual. Whatever the manual we are deciding a random basis, we are selecting those samples, and we are doing the audits, and the repeatable process are now repeatable in DA tools, but it still requires manual action, execution, all those things. Processes are automated in RPA tools, and there is no manual action area. And apart from that, continuous process it is, and the investigation and the remediates of those type of risk is not effectively working. Means nowadays there is lots of area, means business is expanding. With the expanded business, there is a lots of risk also arising. Along with this also, we are automating, means we are most of the entities are now shifted to new software tools and accounting ERPs, and due to which reason there is arising multiple risk, means which is inherent risk to identify all types of risk and establish the detective, corrective, and preventive. All types of risk means preventive risk is that risk which preventive control is that type of control which is implemented for prospective or to prevent to have mishappening. Suppose maker checker control should be established in the organization. That is the preventive control. Means someone will be initiated with some process, and someone will check. Means that will ensure that that is correctly happening. And the segregation of the duty in the organization means one organization will raise the PO, and another organization will book the invoices and payment and process the payment. That will segregate the duty. That is also the preventive. Suppose we are doing some activities, means control, that is only perspective of the identify the risk. I mean the risk resulted, means that bank reconciliation is the one example of the detective risk. Suppose after doing of the reconciliation, vendor reconciliation also is something. Okay, we will do the vendor reconciliation or bank reconciliation. After that only we will get the result, and we can say that there is some happening here there. And based on which are the corrective controls should be there, then after that how we will be accounted in the books. Suppose physical verification is the one through which we can detect the result. Means physical verification is one type of example of that detective control. But after that physical verification, there might be some variation in the organization, and that variation should be adjusted in the books of account through corrective control only. So likewise, all those controls should be established in the organization, throughout the organization, to make it resilient, transparent, and easily reportable. Means true and fair data will be available. Another is core principle for CCM. First one is automation. Manual control monitoring can be time consuming, error prone, or of the inefficient. And automation streamlines the process, improves the accuracy, and provides the real-time insights. Means, as we said, that it will provide on the timely manner. It will not wait till the 6 months or 1 year for doing of that internal audit. It will provide on regular basis. The basis we can mitigate those type of risks, and we can change the controls in the organization. It allows the organization to identify issues promptly and take the corrective action. Suppose if there is the highest inventory available in the organization, that will reflect on the timely manner, so that we can take the action through discount concept. We can sell it out, or through allocation with another project, transfer to the another project. If there is possible, we can return to the vendors. Likewise, we can safeguard ourselves from losses. And the real-time monitoring is the another good core principle of the CCM, which automation enables the real-time monitoring of the control, which will not wait till the conclusion of the year. It will provide real-time results to the process owners, or KMP members, or audit committee, so that they can direct, or they can order to the team, or so that that will be prevented, or that could be corrected on the timely manner, and going forward that could be safeguarded. And if the identify the issue as they happen, allowing for immediate intervention. That would help to us to take the action on timely manner, reduce the risk of cost, error, or compliances in the suppose if we will get the result on the timely manner, we will take the action on the timely manner, due to his reason that penalties, liabilities due to non-compliance will be reduced. And exception reporting, identify the problem before they escalate. Means, already a process owner will get the exceptions, and they will verify those exceptions, and if there is the mistakes or mishappening, that will be corrected on the timely manner, so that no need to the escalate. Means that will not be reported further. That allows the data-driven insight for better decision making. Means, where we are having the whole universe, whole population is utilizing for analyzing, so that there is no such area specific, no such limited data or random basis. We are not doing the testing. We are doing the testing on whole population, due to which reason it allows data-driven insight will be the better decision making. It will result better to the organization, and improved resource allocations, focusing on critical issues. Means, if we are able to get it done, get the reports with the detailed knowledge, then we can utilize in the organization for inventory, for data, for resource availability. So in service sector also, there is a project code cost monitoring, and another is the utilization of the resources. Two things needs to be monitored, and these things are critical for the service industry. If we will get that real-time data, it will help to us to allocate in the alternate assignments, and that will monitor, that will result the effectiveness in the organization, that will enhance the output in the organization. Idle will be reduced. Means that will help us to increase the revenue in the organization as well. So that's why CCM control is overly benefited to the organizations. And process to establish the CCM in the organization. Wherever we are talking about that internal control or CCM, first activity is that only study of the existing process. What is the organization? Where does it belongs? What is the industry it belongs to? So then, based on which we need to study their process level. Means area-wise, each and every processes should be walkthrough should be there for that, and get the information related to that existing processes, and based on which we need to assess that risk assessment activity should be performed, and control identification, whether there is control is established against those risks or not. If there is no control established in that against that risk, we need to design new risk, new control in the organization. And of the process mapping with the control. Means, first of all, we need to understand the processes. What are the all processes we are governing and we are operating in the organization? Then we need to assess the risk. What could go wrong in the organization in that processes, based on which we need to map the processes with that risk and controls, whether there is the control established or not. If control is not established, that is design gap. Wherever the design gap, we need to design the new control for that. If there is the control already existing, then we need to do the effectiveness testing. Means for effectiveness testing, we need to take the samples based on which we need to do the sample basis testing. If there is the result is negative, then we need to root cause, and if the requirement of the, to enhance the control, or if there is something lacking in the control, we need to enhance that control. Otherwise, the people in efficiency should be increased, or other whatever technology issue is there, that could be enhanced. Means, and after that, we need to design that process SOPs or RCM design. Means process SOPs or RCM should be designed based upon those our earlier process of through risk assessment and control mapping. That processes, SOPs will provide the who will do what activity and what will be the overall processes, means in the organization, that will be covered in the SOPs. And standard operating procedure will be there, and all the steps will be covered in the SOPs. And processes will provide the actionable things to the process owners. And RCM is the control, where all those controls established in the organization will be communicated, and the criticality of this risk is defined over there, and who will be the responsible person for that, and who will review those controls risk, and accordingly that will be monitored. That governance can decide that part. SOPs and RCM level will be directed by that governance level, and the remaining things that should be implemented at the process level. And process level, it will be implemented, and that is communicated to the all process owners, and they we need to train them regarding those new processes or policies or RCM, so that they can understand, and they can understand the actual objective of that SOPs, RCM and processes, so that only they can align those objectives with their actual day-to-day activities. And there is the organization objectives are also there. So in alignment with those organizational objectives, process SOPs or RCM should be designed, defined, so that it will be easy, hassle-free, and effective in the organization. Last step will be set up the CCM control. After establishing all those SOPs, RCM in the organization, last step will be based on the data availability. We need to integrate with the CCM tools, based on which there might be some manual control also. In case of manual control, how can we collect the data? How we can decide that CCM control will be applied to that. And assertion controls might be the safeguarding of the assets and safeguarding of the inventory related. How we can monitor that data, like CC camera recording is there, we can automate with the AI, so that the red flag will be reported. And the automated control will be automatically, as we said, the automated control will automatically fetch it out the means universal data, means population, and that will process upon that. And if there is any variation or red flag, that will report to the process owner, and the dashboard will be shared with the management. And likewise, we can do that. The third-party tools can be implemented in the organizations for compliance related. So all those compliances required in the organization will be monitored throughout the period, and that the monitoring tools will provide a report of the status. What is the exact status as on date? How many controls, compliances we have complied, and how many controls are near to due for that compliances, and how many overdue, and that can be escalated to that process owner, so that they can take the action against overdue items or near due items, due items, and that can be mitigated. Then that report can be utilized in the CCM controls. That will further help us to take the action. We can check that which process owner is not taking action on the timely manner, who is doing on the timely manner, who is not doing timely manner. That can be monitored through that CCM tools also. And the implementation challenge is also there. matlab, whatever we have discussed till now, governance requires the robust internal control in the organization, and which helps the organization to be the transparent and the true and fair reporting, and it will enhance and boost the confidence of the stakeholders. And for that requirement, we need to integrate with the CCM tools, which will be IT driven, means technology driven, which will help us to analyze all the populations, and based on which we can get the insight on real time basis, and that will help to us for taking the decision on the timely manner with confidence. And of the stakeholder also will be ensured that all those requirement is completely following in the organization, and there is no such a high risk, so that they will get the confidence. And after having all those of the benefit, there is some challenges also there. Means implementation challenge of the CCM is biggest challenge, because high cost at the early phase for identification of the processes, means for assessing the risk and mapping the control of processes, and defining those SOPs is the one journey. For that, cost should be incurred. Along with that, we need to incur the some cost for CCM tools also. That might be high cost, so that at the initial phase it will be the high cost. So it is the one challenge for the entities. And for mediocre or small entities, they cannot afford that much cost as an investment for that risk management control only. But they can start with that some area based, means for finance related, IT related, HR related. At least they can initiate, and on the phase basis, if that will work, they can further expand it. And another is resistance to change. These old employees are comfort with the existing processes, policies, and controls, so that they will not easily accept those new changes in the organization. They will not cooperate with that new CCM tools and all those things. That will be also the another challenge. Third one is that data security concern. As I have already said with you, there is AI automations and integration of the CCM tools with the ERPs. It will expose to the data privacy related risk also, and the another security, firewall related security issues will be also there. Means all continuous monitoring controls and tools applying in the organization will not only provide the benefits, it will bring some risk in the organization as well. To mitigate those type of risks, we need to establish the control further. And the last one is that system integration and training. And system integration means some API integration or some integration with the existing ERP is difficult. Sometimes, suppose if you are using the Navision, you cannot automate integrate with then LMS, some other tools. As suppose you are using the Tally, but you cannot automate Tally with that Altics software. Like some other accounting, Zoho platform or other platform can easily API integration with some ERPs, but that will not integrate in everywhere. That will be another challenge. And apart from that, last one is that train to the team, means whoever will be involving those controls, or how they will monitor those controls, and how they will process those risk and controls in the organization. They need to be trained first, so that they will be able to understand what is the purpose of all those new controls, how they will be automated, how that controls will be effective in the organization, how it will help to implement means mitigate the risk and get benefit in the organization. For that perspective, we need to train the team at process level, technology level, and their skill related also. We need to train themselves, so that they can operate and automate themselves, and self assessment will work only. They will be able to automate, means they will be able to operate it. Otherwise, it will be waste of the cost. And to avoid such type of challenges, there is some best practices for success. Means it's not only that it challenges will bound us to not having the CCM control in the organization. There is some best practices, as I already said, focus on high risk areas first, that start CCM implementation by target high areas to effectively reduce, like duplicate invoicing, like statutory compliance related, like ghost employee, payroll process related. At least at the high risk related area, you can focus it out at first. Once that will be settled, means will be effective, then you can expand and use in the another area. And integration with ERP system means integrates monitoring tools with ERP system to streamline control processes and improve data accuracy. Though whenever we are integrating the CCM tools in the ERP system, we need to streamline accordingly control processes and data privacy related controls in the organization, so that we can easily reduce the risk in the organization related to that data privacy. And another is the employee training, provide the regular training to the employee to ensure understanding and adherence to the policies, SOPs, how it will works in the organization, how it will helps to us to make it a better environment in the organization, and of the complied with the statutory compliances and reduce the risk will result in the financial perspective also. And of the all this area should be considered, and of the train and communicate to that process owners also. And last one is continuous improvement. Use the feedback loop and pilot program. Then suppose if you are utilizing at a specific area, at that time you need to get the feedback from the process owners who is operating those controls and the CCM tools, and they will provide what challenges they are facing, and based on which you can decide and going forward how we can operate those controls, and how we can improve those areas, so that they will also be happy with that. They can say that we are also uh, listen to, and so that the management is listening to them, then accordingly that resistance to use that CCM control will be reduced. The another is that key emerging technology in the control monitoring. As we have already said that with the advancement of the technology and of the global business market and of the expansion of the business volumes, there is the data is also increasing day by day, that manually we can do that. We cannot do that all the testing in the organization. If we are doing that manually, that will cost very high, so that we need to automate. For that, there is emerging technologies are also there. AI and machine learning is the very renowned and of the which is at peak nowadays. AI driven system detects fraud patterns which can report to us, so that we can analyze those areas or those exceptions, based on which we can take the corrective actions in the organizations and improve internal control efficiency also. Suppose someone is our vendor who is directly through API integration is uploading that invoices in the portal in Oracle. And suppose if we are integrating that AI related control in the system as a CCM control, then it will check those invoices. If it will identify some different trend, then it will automatically fetch it out. It will show that here is some variation then the normal activities what's happening here. So suppose sometimes that we can define that amount, limit, nature, that should be defined at the time of establishing the control, so that that will be reported. At which condition that AI will highlight a red flag. So that is the important. And another is predictive analysis based upon the historical data. So that predictive analytics will be there, and what could be goes wrong in the future also will be predictable, based on which that will provide some proactive approach and risk management approach, through which we can be prepared for that. Suppose uh, it will link with that business continuity, business disruption risk related. Suppose if earthquake will be there, though there is the chances of mishappening of that much amount of that area will might be get affected. At that time, we can do some activities, and accordingly, we can make that manual procedure and the emergency number, contact number, business disruptive recovery procedure will be defined, based on which we can mitigate some risk so that the business continuity will be in place. And another is the governance and cyber security. Advanced technology support the governance framework and address the evolving regulatory and cyber threat challenges also. And at which level we can do that, we can utilize the new modern technology as a tool of audit tools, and so that through which we can raise the samples, we can analyze the data, we can extract the exceptions, we can report that those exceptions to for validation with the process owner. All those things will be happen, and it is only possible using of the AI or machine learning or predictive analytics in the organizations. And it is very crucial also because it's nowadays this is the era of the new technology, because we are our accounting and our businesses are also using the multiple tools technologies, and which is very advanced in nature. In that perspective, manually checking and establishing control will not be able to prevent and mitigate all the risks, so that we need to understand their trends and we need to understand their nature. Accordingly, we need to deploy those AI or machine learnings in the organization, so that that will help us to continuous monitoring of the controls, and of the which will provide us the real time information, and which will help us to take the decision on the timely manner, and which will prevent or reduce the actual potential risk or of that reputational loss and financial loss also. That at the end of this session, so we can conclude that that importance of the internal control, robust internal controls and continuous control monitoring are indispensable for effective organizational governance, and they safeguard the assets, ensure the compliance in the timely manner. Building stakeholders trust means, as I already told to you, that key whenever we establish that internal CCM control in the organization, automatically that will enhance that real-time information to the process owner. If there is mishappening or something wrong, that will be reported on timely manner, and corrective action will be taken on the timely manner. That will not be spread, means that will be prevented at the early phase. And another is that adoption of the framework and technology. By adoption of the framework like POSO principle, leveraging the technology for CCM and following best practices, organizations can mitigate the risk and enhance the transparency in the organization. POSO principle is internationally adopted principle, which has the 5 components. First one is that key control environment. Second is that risk assessment. Third one is control activity. Fourth one, information and communication. Fifth one is monitoring. It is not a one-time activity, it is ongoing activity. All these 5 components will act simultaneously. Means suppose at the early phase, we will identify what the business environment, what is the top level tone of the management, and where we are heading towards, and the based on which we will assess the risk in the organization, and that risk should be mitigated through the control activities. We will define the control in the organization, then that should be communicated with the correct information, so that it could be implemented in the organization. And then throughout the period, monitoring with the help of that continuous control monitoring tools, means that will help us to monitor throughout the period. And of the emerging technologies in the governance is also really important, because with the advancement of the technology in the organizations, and we need to incorporate emerging technologies and of the enable proactive risk management, and of the strengthen the organizational governance, because day-to-day basis, as you know, that there is some phishing mails are coming, and some threats are IT threats are there, intruders are there. Such type of controls are also really required in the organization. And of the with the advancement of the technology, all things are happening in the software tools and online data, so that if there is some mishappening and a restriction and in the data, that would result of the loss to the organization. So that such type of data prevention, data privacy, is something we need to establish in the organization. And strategic role and controls means ultimately strong controls and monitoring system are not just the compliance tools. Once we have established the internal control in the organization and of the CCM control in the organization, that will not result that compliance tools is established and that is just for monitoring compliances. It also provides that they are strategic enabler for the sustainable growth and resilience, because they are providing real-time information to the decision makers. They are providing real-time situations to the all the process owners so that they can act upon that. That will helps to them reduce the risk and prevent from such type of potential risk and reduce the financial risk also. So for that perspective, we cannot say that separately. There is the governance is separate things and internal control and system controls are tools are separate thing. For effective and good governance, it is very important to establish the internal control framework, risk management framework in the organization. A risk management framework in the organization can be advanced and take it to further next stage with the help of the CCM controls. CCM control is something which will provide you the real-time data, which will provide you the real-time information, which result in the transparency in the relations maintaining with the stakeholders, which will provide you the real-time data for decision makings, and which will provide you to be compliant on the real-time basis, so that you will save some financial penalties and the fines and the other like benefits due to reputation of loss or some business disruption or business continuity related loss will be also prevented through all those controls. So this is my session. Now we will go to that this question and answer session. Yeah, can we take these questions?
Yes, sir. I would like to thank you for your session. Now let's move to our question answer session. I'll just read out the questions for you. The question has been received from Mr. Rajesh. The question is, if contractual agreements gets lapsed and not renewed and continued to be paid at old rates, then what is the level of risk of internal control?
Two things are there. If the contract is lapsed already there, that means we do not have binding document with us. Paying rate is one thing, that is financial factor. Another is those benefits, what is the terms and conditions we have agreed with that party will not be binding to that party, because contract is already got lapsed. Though that is the one risk. Another risk is that we are paying at the earlier rate is one thing. We are not having that contractual document for that rate agreement, due to which reason dispute will be there also. Means in future, suppose you will ask not the 20 rupees, that will be 25 rupees, because there is no written agreement with us. He can fight for that also. That is two type of risk will be there. One is conditions, terms and condition is not complied, so that binding is not binding document is not available.
Yes.
Due to which one risk, another risk is that financial risk.
Right, sir. I hope, Mr. Rajesh, your query has been answered. I'm moving to the next query that has been received from Mr. Nagesh Hedge. He asked, it was a technical, he's asking that where do we get the soft copies of the PPT displayed in the session? Sir, can I answer it on your behalf? Because, Sir Nagesh, sir, you can just mail it to sir and sir can mail it back to you, or you can also drop a mail to ICAI. We can facilitate that as well.
Yeah. My email ID is psr2064@gmail.com. You can send the mail. I can share with you.
Okay, sir. I'm moving to the next question.
Yeah.
Which has been received from Mr. KKVR. Where these organizational failures were because of management overriding controls. I guess they're referring to the examples you gave in your PPT, sir, Satyam, and that case.
Yeah, even having the control, there is override by the management override, right, what he is saying. But fact is that real-time monitoring was not available at that time. If there would be having such type of real-time monitoring that could be identified at the early phase, that could be reported to the stakeholders accordingly, that could be take corrective action on the timely manner, that could be prevented.
Yes, he has continued the question in Satyam. Yes Bank DHFL failed due to management overriding, management failing in internal controls properly, and not having robust CCM process in changing technologies and business environment. The same querist has asked this, sir. I'm moving to the next question. Mr. Rajesh.
I can respond to this question.
Okay, sir. Fine, please.
Yeah. So what he said that management is something apart from management. Also, management KMP member is something apart from that. Board of directors team is also there. Audit committees are also there. External auditors are also there, because they could not identify on the timely manner, because they did not have the internal control in place and robust internal control in the organization. If there might have that CCM controls and they are working on the whole population, that could be detected in the early phase, and that external auditor could report such type of fraud in the early phase. That is the failure what happened in the organization.
Right, sir. Rightly said. Sir, moving to the next question is received from Mr. Rajesh. He's asking that a company has implemented a robust firewall and a blockage of ports in laptop desktop so as to block data transfer with the help of insertion of pen drive. However, several department heads have provision to open mails with attachment on their mobile phone. How effective is the internal control for prevention of data leakage, and how same can be addressed? Otherwise, data can freely be transferred from mobile phone mail attachment, sir.
Yeah, that needs to be prevented in the organization. Most of the big MNCs organization are not allowing to open those type of mails with teams in the personal devices, because there might be some chances of data loss, means data sharing. So apart from that, based upon the responsibility, whenever we are joining with the organization, we are committing to them, and the declaration NDA will get signed, in which we have clearly written that if any data or information will be misused, we will be liable for that. That is also there, so that they can use, but through which they are monitoring for that. If they will find such type of mishappening in the organization through their personal devices, they will be liable personally.
Okay, sir. There are no more questions. I hope all the participants are satisfied with their solutions. And sir, with your permission, as there are no more questions, I would like to move to the conclusion part with the word of thanks, sir.
Thank you all,
sir,
for listening to me for a longer time.
No, sir, it was very insightful. It was very great. So as we conclude, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to our chairman, vice chairman, Internal Audit Standard Board of ICAI for conducting this wonderful session. Special thanks to our esteemed speaker, CA Pradeep Sagar sir, for his valuable insights. Thank you all the participants for joining and taking active participation by asking the questions and for getting the answers, and wishing everyone a continued and learning and a progress, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Have a wonderful evening.
Thanks to board. Thanks to all supporting teams. Thanks.